What's going on, YouTube? I'm gonna make a short video today about welding pie cuts, specifically 304 stainless 16 gauge 3-inch. And the reason I want to make this video is because when I first started welding stainless, I was really curious about the welding, the welder settings, the material being used, the filler rod, the tungsten, I had no idea. This was, I've probably been doing it now for only like 2 years, and I know I researched it, trying to figure out because the material is expensive and you don't want to mess it up. And it's really not as hard as it sees. If you're watching this video, you might have a million questions, but I'll try to answer them. If you have any other ones that I don't touch on in the video, just leave them in the comments, and I'll try to answer them all best I can. So, first of all, what is a pie cut? Basically, all it is it's a piece of what was a straight shot of tubing cut with an angle, two angles that oppose each other. So you have this one. These ones that I have today are 7.5 degree cuts on each side. So you get 15 degrees total out of one piece. Now, if you were going to make a 90, you divide that by 15. And you would get 6, so you need 6 pieces to make one 90-degree bend. And the nice thing about doing pie cuts is you can get them, depending on the degree that you cut them at, you can make a really tight radius bend that you can't normally get as a mandrel, like all one piece. So these are 16 gauge, which is, I believe, 0625 wall thickness. It's like a 16th. And I bought these on eBay, actually. Normally I cut these myself. I got a whole bunch of 3-inch, 4-foot straights in the corner behind my toolbox, and I cut them with a abrasive wheel on a chop saw or in a bandsaw. And the reason I bought them is because I figured you guys might not have a bandsaw or a chop saw, but you might have a welder. So they're super nice. You don't have to worry about getting them square in the saw or dealing with deburring them or flap wheeling them, or however you get all the slag and burrs off, which is a pain in the butt. And I figured, if this goes good, if these weld really nice, then maybe I'll use them in the future, because save me a ton of time buying them rather than making them. They are pretty pricey. I paid, I think, $93 for enough to make 3 90s, so 18 pieces, free shipping on eBay. But it saves me over an hour in the shop because I do them kind of the hard way. It takes me a little bit of time, and I clean them up really good, and it's no dust. I'm not dealing with any stainless dust or burning my fingers, or there's a bunch of reasons why I may stick with doing this until I get like a really nice bandsaw or something that can cool it like a wet saw. So I'm going to show you guys the 2 pieces of tubing I'm trying to connect and why I needed these. Because a mandrel bend is just the radius is too long to make the bends that I need for this application. So let me show you that, and then we'll get to tacking some of these together, and I'll show you guys like the welder settings and everything else I can think of to cover it. Alright, so what we're looking at here is the outlet of the turbo manifold and the inlet to the turbo, and those pie cuts are going to fill the gap in between the two. And the reason I needed them is because you can tell that the inlet on the turbo pretty much points almost at that V-band outlet, so a couple traditional 9D mandrels are just not going to be tight enough to make that bend. So I'm going to get the welder set up and I'll be right back with you guys. So here we're looking at my Eastwood TIG 200. It's a really nice little budget option. I think it goes for, when I got it, it was around 700 bucks. And I love it. This thing's been great for 2 years. I really do want to upgrade to something that has pulse. But this thing just works so good, I just haven't really needed to yet. It does do AC, so you can weld aluminum, and I'll probably make a video on that eventually. So I have my pre-flow and post-flow set up so that it will shield the arc before I get started, and for 5 seconds afterwards, so that while the weld is cooling, it doesn't get unshielded and make it, you know, if you've ever seen an unshielded weld, it's not pretty. So we want to keep it nice and pretty, get some colors in the on that stainless, so we don't burn it and lose the corrosion resistance that it has. So I'm going to be using the foot pedal. Probably I'll set the foot pedal to like 60 or 80 amps max. So I'll probably start around whatever, 20 or 30 amps or something. And then as you lean on the pedal more, the hotter it gets. And gas, I'm using 100% argon. You don't have to have 100% argon for doing stainless. I just use it because you need it for aluminum. To the best of my knowledge anyways. It works really well. So I have a dual head because we'll be back purging. After I get it all tacked together, I'll be running a back purge line. And for now, while I'm tack welding, I'm going to set this to like 20 to 25, and it should work perfect. So let's do it. I forgot to mention real quick about my torch setup. This is just a number 17 flex head torch. I'm going to be using 2% thoriated 1/16 tungsten, and I just sharpen it on my 12-inch disc sander over there on one of my benches. And this is a gas lens number 8 cup, and it works really well for me, so I've just been sticking with it. Okay guys, another thing I did quickly just with the micrometer was find the smallest point on all these and make a Sharpie mark just so that I can tag them all together and see that line up and know that I've got a nice square uniform assembly of all those pie cuts, and I don't have any that are going to kick me off to the left or the right, and we'll get as tight of a bend as we can. I'm going to start off just doing 6 and get us a 90. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to zap these in one spot and make a little tiny, you know, tack weld, a little circular tack weld. I'm not adding any filler yet or going to do any kind of long weld or nothing like that. Just a little dot to get them to hold together, and do them in 3 spots so that we know they're not going to fall apart. That's it, 3 spots. Okay, there's our 90 now. Nice tight radius. Look at this one I was trying to use. The difference in those two is huge, you know what I mean? For a space. Can't even compare it. So I went ahead and I tacked 2 more pieces on there. So now we have, what would that be, 90, 105, 120 degree bend down there, and now you can tell we're kind of getting it in the rough direction that we want it to go, because we kind of have to overshoot the turn, give it some length, and then come back the other way like an S bend. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a couple small straight pieces, and get it so that it's up, you know, right about here, and then I'm going to do a couple pies, and we should be able to get it direct right in there with a little short straight piece after the other 2 pies I'm going to add, 2 or 3 pies. We'll see what it ends up being, but yeah, so far, man, it's so much faster with pre-cut pieces, I'm telling you. So I'll just check back in a few minutes with you guys and see where I'm at. Okay, so I changed it up a little bit. Instead of doing a couple straights with some pies in the middle, I just did a straight shot here with 1 more pie on each end. I just had to do 1 down here to correct that angle to get that straight piece headed the right direction. So it looks good. I think it's going to work really well. It's holding the turbo up right now just by itself, just being tack welded. Next is what I'm going to do is put that head, I got a head plate that bolts on here that I can weld a brace to, and it will mount to these holes in the turbo flange. And then once I get the radiator fans on here, I can find a good enough spot on the outside of this elbow for the wastegate. And yeah, just stay tuned, you guys. I'll be posting more content all the time. I hope a bunch this winter of some projects I got going on, a shop car. It's going to be another LS turbo. And I've got this square body over here. I'll be wrapping up pretty soon. It's got an 80mm comp turbo on it with a forged rotating assembly, LS with a Tremec Tranzilla 6-speed manual. And of course, the grip and rip freaking brake, rear brake drift handle. I don't know, this guy's nuts. Follow along, you guys. Like, comment, subscribe, and hang on tight, right? Later.